What's up, fam? Thank y'all for tuning in once again. And as always, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell so every time I drop a video, you will be the first to know about it. All right, let's talk about The Woman King. Start off, I'm not gonna see the movie. I say boycotting, nah, because I don't really want to be like. I think too much that we try to be part of a group to do something like spectacular. Like if one person do it and everybody do it, I was just like, hey, The Woman King. First off the title, rubs me the wrong way. Call it what you want. Then you start reading about the homie, civilization from back then, and you read the history about their participation, and that's putting it nicely, in the slave trade, where most of our ancestors, came from, that was brought over by, during the transatlantic slave trade, and how they played a big part in it, and it's like the movie is supposed to be this celebration of black womanhood, I guess. My question is this something that, black American women should strive to emulate? I'm gonna say no. And I'm gonna go through a couple of articles here and we're gonna see why. But first, let's just talk about the movie. This is from thethings.com and it reads, fans were blown away by The Woman King as it quote unquote overperformed at the box office. Call the movie Black Women Deserve. The Woman King made $19 million during its opening at the box office, 25% more than analysts predicted. Now, the budget for this movie, if you Google it, look it up, it was $50 million. So for the opening weekend, it made $19 million. And they say it overperformed, in quotes. Well, look at the whole title. Fans were blown away by The Woman King as it overperformed at the box office. So it put, like I said, you gotta watch how people say things. So it said that, trying to make you think that the movie did great. It was a great movie. Fans loved it and it overperformed at the box office. So that's clickbait, because overperform would be, let's just say, hell, we go all the way back to Masterpiece first movie, I'm About It. Went straight to DVD. He said he had like $1 million budget. And within the first month, I think it sold like over 100-something thousand copies. So that cat made $2 million off the movie. Brought in $2 million. So off the rip, in the first month, you got $1 million profit. That would be overperforming, especially when you actually watch the movie. It's a hood classic, but it ain't the greatest in acting, but hey, I still watch it, so it is what it is. So to say this movie overperformed doesn't mean that it actually made the money back that it took to make the movie. Okay, so The Woman King has been the highly anticipated historical drama that stars the help in How to Get Away with Murder actress Viola Davis, who leads an all-female army known as the Agoji. The movie is set in the 1800s and follows the Agoji, who protect the African kingdom, the Dahomey, as they train to face a new threat. It says it's a drama about a true story. It doesn't say it's a true story. It doesn't even say it's based on a true story. It says it's a drama about a true story, which means it took a lot of liberties in making this film. So the truth has still a cast. It talks about the cast and what cares about that. It said, but despite The Woman King's promises to tell an exciting and dramatic story with a powerhouse cast, analysts predicted that the movie would not be a box office hit. Now, let's just get it for real. $19 million. We're not even talking about the budget. I've never made a movie, so I wouldn't know what a $50 million budget would entail. I know that's low budget for this day and age, Because you look at up any movie, most of the movies now, movies that come out as widespread as this one did, because this one came out in like over 3,000, well, pretty much every damn movie theater in the country, and you only made $19 million. Now, if you were to put, let's say, a Marvel movie in every theater in the country, that movie probably will make at least 100 million, few hundred million, probably $1 billion in the first week. I mean, seriously, because that's how popular it is. So would that be like overperformed? No, because they would say that they predicted that those movies would have made that much money. They say, but the Woman King has proven the stats wrong, making a whopping $19 million during its opening at the box office, which was 25% more than initially predicted. They say Miss Viola Davis, Sister Viola Davis, great actress, got nothing against her. I think she was one of the direct producers of this movie, of this film. Said, we can lead the box office, Viola Davis told Entertainment Weekly after The Woman King debuted at number 1 with $19 million across 3,765 North American theaters. That's a lot of doggone theaters, a lot. Black women can be at the center of a narrative, and we can lead a global box office and make movies that are meaningful to everybody. They say the movie is an epic to be proud of and has been called the movie that black women deserve. Now, why would somebody say that black women deserve this movie? They say the female cast members have been highly praised by fans and critics alike, and even the fight coordinator and nutritionist were blown away by the actresses that they work with. Now again, why would they say that this movie is the movie that black women deserve? This is a movie. Now, I haven't seen it. I've talked to people, who've seen it, read reviews by people who saw it. People love it. People love the movie. They said it was great. But this is a movie, a fictitious movie, about a tribe of women who pretty much helped the transatlantic slave trade continue even after it was abolished by their eventual colonizers. This movie is about people who sold your ancestors, kept them in captivity, and sold them overseas, or kept them as their own slaves. And this is supposed to be a movie that black women deserve. What are they saying? What are they saying that black American women deserve? That's a good question. So I'm gonna go to this article in the Smithsonian magazine, and it talks about the Agoji and the Dahomey Kingdom, and it's entitled "The Real Warriors Behind the Quote-Unquote the Woman King." It says, at the height of the 1840s, the West African kingdom of Dahomey boasted an army so fierce that its enemies spoke of its prodigious bravery. This 6,000 strong force, known as the Agoji, raided villages under cover of darkness, took captives, and slashed off registered heads to return to their king as a trophy of war. First of all, I say Woman King, actually the title is clickbait, and it's deceptive because these women were not kings. There was a king of the Dahomey. These women were, quote unquote, his wives. But I'm gonna read more so y'all can get a better understanding of this. It talks about the movie, how the reporter, it says, is the Woman King based on a true story? In short, yes, but with extensive dramatic license, which means they made up a whole bunch of stuff in this movie. Though the broad strokes of the film are historically accurate, the majority of its characters are fictional, including Davis's Nanishka and Duso Mbedu's Nawi, a young warrior in training. King Gizo, played by John Boyega, is the exception, according to Lynn Ellsworth Larson, an architectural historian who studies gender dynamic in Dahomey. Gizo, who reigned from 1818 to 1858, and his son Glili, who reigned from 1858 to 1889, presided over what is seen as the golden age of the Dahomey history. They say the Woman Kings opened up in 1823. They say the real Gizo, they say a parallel plot line finds Naniska, who disapproves of the slave trade after experiencing its horrors personally, urging Gizo to end Dahomey's close relationship with Portuguese slave traders and shift to the production of palm oil as the kingdom's main export. The real Gizo did, in fact, successfully free Dahomey from its tributary status in 1823, but the kingdom's involvement in the slave trade doesn't align as neatly with the historical record. It says, as historian Robin Laws noted, Dahomey emerged as a key player in the trafficking of West Africans between 1680s and early 1700s, selling its captives to European traders whose presence and demand fueled the industry, and in turn, the monumental scale of Dahomey's warfare. They say, though the majority of the individuals taken prisoner by Dahomey were enslaved abroad, a not insignificant number, which means a whole hell of a lot of them, remained in the kingdom where they served on royal farms, in the army, or at the palace. They say, in truth, Gizo only agreed to end Dahomey's participation in the slave trade in 1852, after years of pressure by the British government, which had abolished slavery in its own colonies in 1833. It also said Gizo did at one point explore palm oil production as an alternative source of revenue. It proved far less lucrative, and the king soon resumed Dahomey's participation in the slave trade. Again, this is the movie Black Women Deserve. A fictitious story about a terrible kingdom that sold, as we would say, their own people into slavery. But you know, slaves came from war. And as you read along this article, there was a lot of war going on. So most likely, you see this even in the scriptures. When there was a war, people was captured, they became slaves. I don't know if they used that word back then in the scripture times, but they were servants, you know? And that's how you got slaves. No one ever volunteered to work for somebody for nothing. You had to have slaves. Or even now you got prisoners in jails. So nobody volunteered. You never seen anybody volunteer to go into a prison to become a prisoner so they can work for 25 cents a day. You know, making whatever. You never heard that. And that's the same thing back in these days. They say, portraying the Agoge through Naniska's actions as critics of the slave trade makes for a quote-unquote nice story, says Larson in the interview. Do I think it's historically accurate? I'm skeptical, she asked. These women are symbols of strength and power. So is that why this is a story that Black women deserve? But they're also complicit in the problematic system. They are under the patriarchal of the king. Now see how she put the patriarchy of the king. Now you want to put it back on the king because of the slave trade. See what I'm saying? But you want to call these women king, but you show with the slave trade, you want to kind of separate them and say, don't forget they was under a king. And there are still players in the slave trade. They say, who were the Agoge? The first recorded mention of the Agoge dates back to 1729, but the unit was possibly formed even earlier, toward the beginning of the Dahomey existence, when King Hugh Baja, reigning from like 1645 to 1685, created a core woman, elephant hunter. Alternatively, Hanjbi, who briefly ruled as regent following the death of her brother in the early 18th century, may have introduced the women warriors as part of her palace guard. It's either way, the Agoge reached a peak in the 19th century under Gizo, who formally incorporated them into the Dahomey army. It said, thanks to the kingdom's ongoing wars, Dahomey's male population had dropped significantly, and this is part of history. If you read anything in history, you know, they try to I remember back in school, you read the history books and they try to glorify war, like it's a manly thing, like it's a great thing. They fought these wars, a lot of people died, and you had a victim. The problem is, with all these wars throughout the centuries, like this says, the majority of your male population dies. That's what happened in the Civil War. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the North and the South was fighting, and the North was also, losing a lot of soldiers. And that's when they decided to incorporate Black Americans or free slaves into their army, and was able to overpower and defeat the South, because the South men were running out. And this is why you had a whole lot of women who had slaves. You understand? Nobody really they don't talk about that. They don't talk about how, a lot of white women had slaves, but that's because a lot of the men died in the war. They say more perhaps than any other African state, Dahomey was dedicated to warfare and slave raiding. Wrote Stanley B. Alpern in Amazon of Black Sparta, the Women Warriors of Dahomey, the first full-length English language study of the Agoge. It may have also been the most totalitarian, with the king controlling the regimenting practically every aspect of social life. But this is the movie Black Women Deserve. It say, in fact, so they wore uniforms like the ones in Black Panther. They said they meant to have. So they said this was they're meant to have a public face, says Larson. They were to be feared by their neighbors. This was a slave trading kingdom, so warfare was part of their annual cycle. Again, that's how you get slaves, through warfare. They needed to gather humans to be part of this heinous transatlantic slave trade, as well as for human sacrifices to posthumously deify the kings. They say the ranks included volunteers and forced conscripts alike. Regiments were recruited from slaves, some of them captured as early as the age of 10. Also the poor and girls who were rebellious, said Terry Ochiaga, an expert on colonial and post-colonial Nigeria at the University of Edinburgh, in the 2018 Smithsonian Channel documentary series, Epic Warrior Women. In the women, King Naui ends up in the army after refusing to marry an elder suitor. It's during the 17th century, the Agoge were a battle-hardened all-female warrior force that held a special place within the African kingdom of Dahomey. Most were former slaves, with only the bravest and toughest admitted in the fold. They say all of Dahomey's women were considered a hosti. And this is interesting. Or wives of the king. They lived in a royal palace alongside the king and his other wives, inhabiting a largely woman-dominated space aside from eunuchs, which are men with no private parts, and the king himself. No men were allowed in the palace after sunset. But this is the movie that Black women deserve. They say the Agoge were considered the king's third-class wives. In other words, shoot, y'all wasn't even a side piece. Y'all was like the side piece to the side piece. Well, the ones who feel this movie is what you deserve. They said the Agoge were considered the king's third-class wives, and they were typically didn't share his bed or bear his children. They were restricted from having sex with other men, although the degree to which this celibacy was enforced is subject to debate. In addition to enjoying privileged status, the warriors had access to a steady supply of tobacco and alcohol. They also had enslaved servants of their own. Again, this is the movie that Black women deserve. I'm gonna tell you like this here. No, I will not be seeing this movie. This here is like pretty much very disrespectful. This is an abomination. I mean, can I get mad? But here's the thing. I did a video about what's the name? I forgot. It was Gina Torres, and how she felt like playing a black character was like the worst thing ever happened in her life. And somebody put a post was like how that the system, the industry needs to change. And I said, and I commented on that post, and I'm gonna use it for this story here, is the industry don't need to change. It may need to change, but it won't. That's what they want you to do. They want you to say that they need to change so they can continue doing what they're doing, you know, without any repercussions or without any problem, because they don't care, because it's like they run the industry that you're trying to be a part of, or we trying to be a part of, or whatever. So basically, the best thing to do is to create your own stories. I say, if anybody truly have a problem with the movie, like I said, like I said, I'm not gonna see it. It is what it is. They made it. To me, it's entertainment. I mean, what you gonna do? So many movies, so many songs, so much entertainment out there that goes against the narrative for positivity for Black Americans. It's like, man, it is what it is. I mean, and it goes back since the beginning of filmmaking. So the best thing for us to do, like I say, is to create our own story. I mean, you can use your phone. You can buy a camera for a few $100s. You can get you a nice little old MacBook, whatever. Make you some, make you some video recordings. You can narrate stories. You can do documentaries. You can do everything you want to for little or nothing, and upload that son of gun to YouTube. Get your nice little niche. Get your nice little following. It may take a while, and then it can grow. You know, you can make cartoons. You can do anything to tell your stories for, like, compared to what it used to cost. And you don't really need no major budget, man. There's people out there that got YouTube videos and stuff, and their budgets, it's like, terrible. Their production quality is terrible. I know my production quality ain't great. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, as I grow, the goal is for everything to get better, production-wise, and and to dedicate more and more time to this channel right here, or to bringing you content. But the thing is, you got to start somewhere to create your own narrative. And also, thanks to the internet and streaming services like YouTube, you can study, you can look things up. Anybody tell you something, bring a story to you. If you got any questions about it, whether it's you're just interested about it, or just want to learn more about it, or feel there's something not right, you can always look it up at any time. You got the freedom to do it. It's at the palm of your hands, and no, every place you go to would not be the truth, but that's the joy and the benefit of studying, because you can go through it all, take notes, and learn, and then eventually come up with the truth. And the truth is, this Woman King is not the movie that Black women deserve. It's just a movie. Simple as that. It's just a movie that did not tell the truth about a kingdom and a group of soldiers, or soldierettes, as Master P would say. Shout out to Master P. That embraced the slave trade, was told to sell palm oil, but then was like, shoot, I ain't making enough money on that. Let's go back and capture some more black folk. So go get some more people. And they wasn't worried about if they were black or white. So that race stuff had to be created by the oppressor, because for somebody to, well, think about it though. I was gonna say, for somebody to enslave their own people, race is probably not an issue to them. But then look at the young people, or the people, over here in America, in the United States, let me say that, because there are 3 Americas. Just in case people forgot, they're not teaching in the world. You got North America continent, South America continent, and you have Central America. So just a geographical, tidbit of information. But you see these youngsters here killing each other over what? Robbing, killing each other for what? Little nothing. They don't care about color. But it's funny, just like the homie, you don't see too many of us doing the same thing to the mother folk. You don't see like the homie or the Agoji. You ain't hear about them enslaving white people. So take it how you want to. But tell me what you think about this. You think I'm on point? You want to go see the movie? You want to enjoy it? Take your family, come out of there crying, thinking it's a great movie. Black woman empowerment. It's a black woman empowerment story about some women that were third-tier wives. So again, you got the wives, then you had your, what was it in the scriptures, like your wives, your concubines, and then you had them other women that was like on the outskirts. This stuff was in the scriptures. So the homo was just women on the outskirts, I guess, trying to find somewhere, to fit in. And what happened to be in the house, like house Negroes during the slavery days. But I mean, the movie that the black women deserve, women were slaves, women cut off people's head. They say there's one story in the Smithsonian article, and I'll put the link down below. Talked about one of the soldiers, the girl, she was a teenager, never killed nobody, but they had a slave that they had captured, held him down, and she used her sword and chopped his head 3 times. And then a little bit of flesh that was left, she just kind of easily cut it and then took the blood up off the blade and drank it. But this is the story that black women deserve. Anyway, tell me what you think about it. Leave your comments below and then share it with the world. And with that being said, I leave you with peace, and I'll see you on the other side.